Somewhere in your life, there's a person who can change your whole day with one sentence. You know the feeling. One comment, and you're replaying it for hours. One unanswered text, and you're checking your phone every few minutes. One raised eyebrow across a table, and you're already changing what you were about to say next. Here's what's strange about that. You're not weak. You've made hard calls under real pressure. You've stood your ground before more than once. So why does it take so little, a tone of voice, a delay, a look, to move you? Maybe it's not that they're stronger than you. Maybe they just found the lever. So what actually gives another person that kind of power over you? Not their words, not their title, not their approval, or their anger. Something underneath all of that. Something they found in you before you ever noticed it yourself. 2,000 years ago, a small group of people figured out exactly what that lever is made of. And more than that, how to take it out of anyone else's hands for good. This isn't really about one comment, or one look, or one person who happens to know exactly how to get to you. It's about the pattern underneath it, the opinion you didn't share because you already knew how it would land, the apology you gave for something that was never yours to apologize for, the relationship you kept going a little too long because ending it meant watching someone else be hurt or angry or disappointed in you. None of that looks like weakness from the outside. It looks like being easygoing, being the reasonable one, keeping the peace. At work, it looks like flexibility. At home, it looks like patience. With the people closest to you, it looks like love. But underneath all of it, something is running constantly, in the background, in almost every interaction. A quiet negotiation. What do I need to say or not say or become right now to keep this person calm or happy or close to me or simply not disappointed? That's the actual cost. Not one bad afternoon. A life edited, sentence by sentence, decision by decision, around how somebody else might feel about it. And here's the part that's easy to miss. The other person doesn't need to be doing anything wrong for this to happen. Half the time, they're not even trying to move you. You move yourself in advance, just in case. Do that enough times, in enough rooms, and you stop noticing you're doing it. You start calling it just being who you are. But it's not who you are. It's the residue of everyone else's leverage, worn smooth over years, until it feels like personality instead of pattern. And that's the trap. You can spend years defending a habit as who I am, when it's actually just old leverage you never took back, which means the lever was never really sitting in their hand. It was sitting in yours the entire time. You just never learned where to find it, or how to take it back. 1900 years before anyone typed the word boundaries, a man named Epictetus was already living the sharpest version of this problem there is. He was enslaved in Rome, in the household of a man named Epaphroditus, secretary to the Emperor Nero. Nothing here is a metaphor. He couldn't choose where he lived. He couldn't choose what he ate, what he wore, or most days what he did with his own hands. Tradition holds that his leg was broken while he was enslaved. Some accounts say by his master's own hand, and that Epictetus simply noted what was about to happen and let it happen without panic. We can't verify every detail of that story the way we'd verify a modern record, but we don't need it to be precise to see what it's pointing at, because Epictetus himself, once free, wrote the underlying idea out as doctrine, not legend. He divided the entire world into exactly two categories. What is up to us, our judgments, our choices, our will, the story we tell ourselves about what's happening. And what is not up to us, our body, our property, our reputation, other people's opinions, and yes, whether or not someone else decides to hurt us. Suffering, he argued, doesn't come from what's in the second category. It comes from treating something in the second category as if it belonged in the first, as if you could control it, and are somehow failing every time you don't. That's the seed. And it's not just an old idea about slavery and freedom. It's a description of exactly what's happening every time someone else moves you, because it's the same confusion. Treating someone else's opinion of you as something you're supposed to control. Go back to that lever from the beginning. It isn't power the other person built. It's a category error you're making, over and over, usually without noticing. Every time you edit a text 3 times, you've put "how they'll feel about me" into the category of things you can control. Every time you swallow the real answer to keep the peace, you've put "keeping this person calm" into that same category. And every time you do that, you hand them a piece of you that was never actually theirs to hold. Not because they reached out and took it, because you set it down in front of them. This is the actual mechanism. Manipulation, at its root, isn't a technique someone uses on you. It's an invitation someone else can extend to a dependency you already built, usually years before you ever met them. The compliment that controls you only controls you because you'd already decided you needed it. The silence that unravels you only works because you'd already decided you couldn't survive being ignored. So the uncomfortable truth Epictetus is handing you isn't "toughen up" or "stop caring." It's narrower and stranger than that. It's "find out, honestly, what you've quietly decided you can't bear to lose." Because that, and only that, is the lever. Not their cruelty, not their cleverness. Your attachment, sitting there, waiting for anyone observant enough to notice it. So the real question isn't, how do I stop them? It's, what have I made myself dependent on that they merely found? And that reframe is the entire hinge this video turns on. Because once you can see the dependency instead of the manipulator, you're not fighting a person anymore. You're doing something Epictetus would recognize immediately. 100 years or so after Epictetus taught his lessons to enslaved and free students alike, one particular student put them into practice. Except this student was, at the time, the most powerful man alive. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, command of the largest army on earth, the kind of authority that could, in theory, make almost any problem disappear. And yet most nights, on campaign, far from the comforts of the palace, he sat down and wrote private notes to himself. Not for an audience, not for publication, just for himself, reminding himself again and again of exactly what Epictetus had taught a generation earlier. This is the specific move he kept coming back to, the actual secret this video promised you. It wasn't about caring less or shutting people out. It was something more precise. Catch the gap between what happened and what you decided it meant. Someone insults you. That's the event. They think I'm worthless. That's the judgment you added on top of it in about 1/10 of a second. So fast it feels like a single motion instead of 2. Marcus's whole practice was learning to notice that gap and hold it open, just long enough to ask, is that second part actually true? Or is that just the oldest habit I have? That's it. That's the lever, disarmed. Not by pretending the event didn't happen, by refusing to automatically hand it a meaning it hasn't earned yet. And this is exactly why it isn't about becoming cold. He wasn't trying to stop feeling things. He was trying to stop outsourcing the meaning of his life to other people's behavior, while still caring enough, clearly, to spend his nights writing himself back into discipline instead of just assuming he already had it. This is the same editing you were doing back at that kitchen table. Except now, it's a decision made on purpose, not a reflex you never noticed you had. Which raises the obvious question. Fine, in a quiet tent, alone, with a lamp and time to think. But what happens when there's no time to think at all? When someone provokes you in the moment, in public, on purpose? That's the real test. And Marcus faced it more than once. In the year 175, word reached Marcus Aurelius that one of his most trusted generals, a man named Avidius Cassius, had declared himself emperor. Cassius had heard a false rumor that Marcus had died and moved fast before anyone could correct the record. This wasn't an insult. This wasn't a text left unanswered. This was a friend's betrayal, an army in revolt, and quite possibly, if it went badly, his own death. And everyone around him, understandably, wanted blood. This is where the theory gets tested for real, not in a quiet tent with a lamp, in front of an army that wanted vengeance right now. And by most accounts, Marcus did the thing he'd been practicing his whole life. He separated what had happened, a rebellion, from what his anger wanted to make it mean, that Cassius and everyone connected to him deserved to be destroyed. He reportedly said he hoped to meet Cassius, not to execute him, but to forgive him and let him keep his life. Cassius's own soldiers killed him before that ever became possible. When his head was brought to Marcus, accounts describe the emperor refusing to celebrate, ordering it properly buried, and later pardoning most of the cities and allies who had sided with him. That's the exact same discipline he'd practiced by lamplight, now under the worst possible conditions. Proof the gap isn't just something you can manage in private, with time to think. It's something you can hold on to when someone hands you the best possible excuse to lose yourself completely. So here's the lever, in full. It was never really in anyone else's hand. It's built out of whatever you've decided you can't survive losing. Their approval, their attention, being seen as good, avoiding their anger. Someone else doesn't need to overpower you to move you. They just need to find it. Most people never do the work of finding it first. Epictetus found his. As an enslaved man with almost nothing else. Marcus found his as the most powerful man alive with almost everything else. Which tells you something useful. It was never about how much control you have over your circumstances. It's about how much you've quietly outsourced to other people's behavior and whether you're willing to take that back. That's what impossible to manipulate actually means. Not that no one will ever try, just that when they do, there's nothing left for the lever to catch. You don't get there by caring less. You get there by noticing the gap every time between what happened and what you decided it meant, and refusing to hand that decision away for free. If this actually changed how you think about the people who move you, tell me which part hit hardest in the comments. That alone helps this reach the next person who needs it. Hit like if you want more of these, subscribe if you want to keep building this with me, and share it with the one person you know who needs to hear it. Isn't their job to manage everyone else's reactions anymore?